Welcome back to Greyhack. So in this episode, we will be looking at some of the other missions in the hack shop. Last time we did a credentials needed mission. And in this episode, we will try out the academic changes mission. So client wants to change some grades and we have to infiltrate the network and modify the data. Let's accept that, and we should get an email with the information. So the IP is this one, and the record belongs to this person, and we need to change the economic academic qualifications for economy. Sorry. So let's see how easy or complex this mission is. As always, we start off by opening a admin monitor so we don't get caught by accident. Next up, we open a terminal and use the nmap tool on the target IP. So pretty straightforward this far. And we have a bunch of things here. So we have SSH, FTP, and HTTP. We do not have any of these versions though. So we'll see if there are some new tools in the hack shop that we can access. Let's start off by looking at the shell. There is now a... Nope. We cannot access the shell HTTP server since the highest version is 7.2 and it requires 7.3. So we'll have to wait for a updated version. What about the SSH server? So there are two commands that we can use to gain access to the SSH port. Either we can use a SSH nuke, but unfortunately the SSH nuke is 7.3 and it requires 7.7, so we can't access that either. Then we have the SSH guest, which goes up to 7.7. So this is our way in. We'll just have to hope that the SSH is the server that we need to hack. We need to access the correct computer on this network. So let's just take a look at the FTP version as well and see if we can gain access to that. So the FTP version is 7.0, so we can't access that. The only way in here is the SSH. So let's see if the SSH guest will be enough to get us on the correct computer on the system. So I forgot to check what version was this. The version was 7.7, right? Yeah, so 7.7 and save. So now we can open another terminal. I like to have a lot of things open at the same time for some reason. So we go SSH guest. And then the IP. And that's all you need with the SSH guest. And we now have access, and there is indeed one admin on the system at the moment. So let's delete our log. Let's just see here. Is that us? If config will show us our IP on our system. Yes, that is us. Next up, we need to see if there is a student viewer on this server, and usually it's in the bin folder, I think. So it's not 100% clear. A trick you can do here to check what ports go where is to open the browser. Keep an eye here if the admins start tracing you, if we need to leave. So the trick is to take a look at the router. Oh wait, did I just open browser? Okay, so I just opened browser on my own system, and that will only show me my own port forwards on my network, but I need to open the browser on the target system. And then go to the router page. And here I will see all port forwarded IPs and their ports. And the student, let's see here. Yeah, over here. The student port, this one, is the 3307 or 3307 port, and that is connected to the 0.2 LAN IP, which is the port 80 LAN IP. So therefore, we need to access the HTTP in order to complete this mission. And since the HTTP is too high of a version for us to complete at the moment, we'll have to wait for a newer exploit to be added to the hack shop. So let's exit this and try out another academic missions or another academic mission. So here we go, academic changes. Let's see if we have more luck with this one. So here's the new target IP, and this is the name of the person, and this is the subject. So we do something similar. We just nmap to check out the system, and I don't think it can be on the FTP actually, because then we would not be able to open the student viewer, which is a program, and you can't run programs on FTP servers. So I think it has to be the HTTP server, or it's a non-port forwarded, but I'm pretty sure it has to be, because this is the university's IP, right? Yes. So this is like the university IP, and the this is opening the HTTP port. And since the HTTP port is 6.7, we can easily hack in here. So what we will do now, since this will probably work, is we just use shell web on the IP we got. Yep, there are admins online. So we quickly go into var and remove the shell. As you can see, a lot of people have been here before us, and I think that's why there is a student viewer in the main directory. There should also be one in the bin. Yep, here is also a student viewer. So what we can do now is we can double click on the student viewer, and unfortunately we don't have permissions for that. So if we go into Well, actually, we could try to open this one instead. Okay, that doesn't work. That's interesting. So let's just go into the main directory on the server and look at the permissions for the file. So it says that we have execution, or that we are have permissions to execute this file, but for some reason it doesn't work. So let's see if we can do it from the there we go. So if we opened it from the terminal, that worked. Now, normally you will not find a student viewer in the main directory. I believe this is something that another player did. So what we will do to make this more guide and tutorial friendly is that we will do it the way you would normally do it. So we go into the bin folder, which is where the student viewer should be located. Also, we can double check with the browser, like we did previously, that the port 80 is indeed on the same, is indeed connected to the same server as the employees and student ports. This is important for when we do the editing. I'll show you later. So now that we have established that we are indeed on the correct server, we are in bin and we use the lsla command to check if the permissions for the student viewer. And as you can see, the student viewer does not have any access. It only has read. That's what the R stands for. The W stands for write and the X stands for execute. So since we cannot execute the program, we will need to gain permission. And the easiest way to do that is to go into the etc folder and the password folder and grab the root credentials. Just copy those. Open up the pass file that we used earlier. Just copy in the new root credentials and run the cipher tool. So the cipher and pass. And that should give us the root password. And then we can just use the sudo command and get password. And now we are, as you can see here, previously we were guest. Now we are root. We have full access to the system. And now, if we close this file explorer and open it again, there are like many ways of doing this. You can now run the student viewer like this. Another way is what we did previously. We can just run the student viewer from the terminal and both will be fine. But we need to be root in order to do that. So let's see here. We need to find the person called Marianne. It's a bit laggy for some reason. Come on. Thankfully, the admins are not very aggressive on the server, so that's nice. Marianne, and the client wants to modify the subject mathematics to increase the academic qualifications at least by 1 point. So it's 7. We just click on this and increase it to 8, which is 1 point, right? Maybe we press enter, I don't know. But that's fine. And then we save the changes. It's very important that we save the changes and that the changes got saved. If we don't have permissions to write, maybe we just have to execute. I'm not entirely sure what would have happened if we had used the player. Okay, so maybe the player's student viewer right here, since it does only have execute and reading permissions, maybe it would not have been able to save the changes. So the player would need to get root access anyways. But we make sure it's saved. And then, just to show you, okay, so it doesn't show up here, but this is how you connect the student viewer to the actual SQL server or SQL port, which is the port I showed you previously, the 3307 port. And we need to be on the correct server that has this port in order to connect it with the configuration tool. It's already automatically connected if you are on the correct server, so you don't need to worry, but that's kind of like why it's important that you are on the correct server when you try to edit the student database, since you need to be on the server that hosts the student database. I think you might even be able to see it in the, maybe it's in the server. Yeah, so here we have the student database. We can't open it, but it's on our on the server that we are connected to. And if we had connected to a different server, there would be no student database and therefore nothing to edit. So I hope that makes sense. So now that we have changed the academic grade, can close this. Thought there was something else I wanted to show as well, but I forgot what that was. Well, anyways, now that we have completed the mission, oh yes, I wanted to double check that we got all the log files. So, connection established, 2 of them. We only need 1 connection established to go with the connection closed. Okay, so let's exit the server and then reply to the mission. I don't think it actually matters what we write here or if we write anything at all. So we could like write done, or we could just send a blank response. There you go, the customer is satisfied with your job and we got paid. So that's how you do the academic changes mission. There are a few more mission types that we will go through, but I think this will be enough for this episode. So, as always, I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you guys next time.